Welcome to lesson number 2 from 4 work. In my first lesson, I was looking at terminologies that are used in genetics, and we came through a terminology known as variation, and we say that these are the differences that are seen between organisms. We are going to look at the two types of variation, and that is discontinuous and continuous variation. Let me write them on the board. Discontinuous variation is the type of variation whereby individuals within a certain group have some differences with no intermediate forms. When I say differences with no intermediate forms, I'm referring to the fact that a difference is only divided into two, in the sense that an organism must fall within one of the two differences. For example, if we are looking at a characteristic such as sex, there are only two sexes known throughout within the world. That is either male or female. When an individual is considered within these two, he must either be a male or a female. And remember here, we are not basing our fact on abnormality, but we are talking about the normal aspect. Another discontinuous variation is the ABO blood group system. For the ABO blood group system, an individual could be having blood group A, blood group B, or a combination of the two forming blood group AB or blood group O. There are only 4 blood groups that individuals may bear, and therefore there is no any other. That one is also another form of discontinuous variation. In discontinuous variation, remember, there are only selected few characteristics, variations within the same characteristic that an individual must bear. There is also another distinct discontinuous variation, which is ear lobe. This is another example of this discontinuous variation. For the earlobe, there are only 2 types of earlobes. Down here, one may be having an ear pinna that is fully attached to the cheek, while another may be having one that is free, like mine over here. The one that is free and it's not attached to the cheek. So all the individuals must be falling between those 2 categories. You may not find an individual bearing an intermediate of the same. Another example of discontinuous variation is presence of a tuft of hair. Tuft of hair inside the nasal cavity, or maybe in the ear pinna. There are individuals who may be having them, while there are some who may not. Remember, when we are looking at this, an individual must be falling within a specific category so as to bring the difference clear. For the case of plants, we have some discontinuous variations in plants such as pawpaw, whereby you find that the pawpaw we may be having the ones that are males and the other ones are females. Remember, the reason as to why discontinuous variation only have a close-cut difference between individuals for the same characteristic is these characteristics are controlled by a single gene or 2 specific genes, and therefore these characteristics are not significantly affected by the environment. For example, you cannot find that maybe one day somebody goes and visits a certain part of the world, and you find later on that maybe he went there when he was a male, then later on he turns to be a female just because of the environment. That is uh, very difficult to happen. It's something which cannot happen. But for the case of continuous variation, we'll look at those ones later on. We'll come to see the reason as to why. That was discontinuous variation. Let's look at the second one, that is continuous variation. Continuous variation is the type of variation whereby a group of individuals exhibit wide range of differences for the same characteristic. Such characteristics may include height. When we take several individuals and we start to measure their heights, you'll find that there are some small differences between individuals which cannot be quantified into one. So it's quite difficult for us to come up with a standard measure that all tall individuals are maybe 8 feet long, maybe 7 feet or 5 feet or whichever. Another example is skin color. When you take several individuals and try to look at their skin colors, you'll find that there are some slight differences between these individuals as far as the skin color is concerned. And another example of continuous variation is weight. Body weight of individuals may be having different readings in case we need to weigh them using maybe weighing balance or whichever kind of measuring weighing method. You'll find that different individuals have got different weights. You may find that there are some differences which could even be ranging between kilograms or maybe grams between individuals. Body size is also another one. You may find that someone appears to be very fat, but there is someone who is fatter than that first individual. And a slender individual maybe could also be seen to be the most slender individual. And when you take him and compare him with the another one, you find that that other one could even be slenderer than that person. Therefore, those examples that I've given out, examples of continuous variation, is making you to understand something, that in the entire human population, these continuous variation, when you consider them and come up with the readings and you now decide to draw maybe a graph about them, we come up with a normal distribution curve. And this is how the normal distribution curve may look like. For the y-axis, let me say it is representing the number of individuals. Number of individuals. Then down here, maybe the x-axis, let me talk about the height, just an example. Number of individuals, let me say I'm talking about it in, I'm talking about it in differences of 50 individuals. So 1 centimeter represents 50 individuals. 250, that one definitely is 300. Then for the y-axis, let me say maybe I'm talking about, let me talk of 10, 10, 10. Let me say 70. Okay. Let me talk about the height in centimeters. This is also 50, 100, 100, 150, 200, 300. When I decide to look at this, you will realize that many individuals are falling between they are falling between this region here. Those individuals who are having the height, for this case, the height which is the intermediate within the middle region, there are so many individuals. When you compare them with the ones who are the dwarfest and the tallest, there is some bit of variation in sense that you realize that those individuals who are falling within this region, these individuals who are dwarf, compare them to those that are the tallest, they are very few. While the ones who are now having the ordinary height, they are always appear to be more than the ones who are found within the extreme ends. Even if we take a group of individuals at random, we take 100 individuals, then we decide to measure their heights, you will realize that a big number of individuals are lying in between the average height. The tallest are always fewer, and the dwarfest are also fewer as well. And that is what I was trying to explain using the normal distribution curve that we obtain when we are trying to consider the ranges which are found between the continuously varying characteristic. That marks the end of our second lesson from from 4 work rather. Let's meet in our next lesson, whereby I'll be talking about causes of this variation. How do they originate? Where do they come from? And what causes them? Let's meet in our next lesson, and remember to subscribe to the channel. Thank you.